So here we have this beautiful 2023 F450 6.7 Power Stroke high output, and I am not maintaining this truck properly. I did an extended drain interval on it using the Hot Shot Secrets PAO full synthetic oil. And basically what I did is I ran the oil through the oil life monitor, and then when it went off, I just reset it. I didn't change the oil. I just reset the oil life monitor. Then I ran it for another 50%, and then I changed the oil. So that oil life monitor can take these engines out to like 10,000 miles for an oil change. It didn't go quite that far for me because, as you can see, we have a snowplow on the truck. But in our case, it probably went around 6,000 miles or something like that. But at the end of the day, you're talking just excessive idling, plowing snow, pushing loads that are just heavy. Like, you're heavy enough to stop the truck from moving. Like, you're just out there working it hard. 24-hour shift of working, engine running the whole time. And I have an oil analysis for you guys from that type of operation. Tons of idling. Now, Dave's Automotive has talked about the importance of not idling your diesel, and you can see that in this oil analysis. What you see is we have 5% fuel dilution from all that excessive idling. Let's take a look at what the comments were. It says, flagged data does not indicate an immediate need for maintenance action. That's very interesting. They're telling us that we don't need to change the oil based on what we're seeing on this analysis. So it says, continue to observe the trend and monitor equipment and fluid conditions. Fuel dilution is at a moderate level. Fuel dilution is possibly caused by excessive idling. The base number is slightly low. As base number depletes, the ability to neutralize acids is diminished. Chrome is at a minor level and is possibly coming from piston ring plating. Please provide missing fluid product name to compare data to the correct standards. Lubricant and filter change acknowledged. So, what does that really mean? I think with the filter change being acknowledged, are they saying, okay, no, there isn't any need to change the oil according to the oil analyzers. Now, these oil reports, Blackstone oil analyzers, this is my first time using oil analyzers. With Blackstone, a lot of times they would say, you can keep running that oil. Well, this time they're telling us the same thing, that we can keep running that oil. Now, with the fuel dilution being at 5%, I've looked into this. The main issue with the fuel dilution on a diesel engine is the fact that as you gain fuel, you're losing your lubricity and you're losing your viscosity. In our case, our viscosity is still in a 40 range. Now, we started with the 5W40 oil to begin with, but we are at 12.9 on our viscosity, which tells us that we're still in the 40 range, but we're barely there. We're at the very bottom of the 40 spec. The 40 spec, I believe, starts at like 12.5 or something. So we're almost down to a 30 weight, which would still be within specification of the engine. The engine can run a 30 weight. Now, when you think about all these weights of oil, right now we've got our AMS oil right here getting ready to go in. We are running right now in the engine. When we changed from the Hot Shot Secrets, we put in AMS oil 0W40 in the engine, and we're running it to the same test. We're going to run it to 1.5 oil life cycles, and then we're going to change it again, analyze it, and we're going to compare that to the Hot Shots. And the reason I want to do this is because, in my opinion, between the Hot Shot Secrets 5W40, PAO, and the AMS oil, they're like the two best top-notch oils that you can get. I'm curious which one's better. I can tell you right now that the cold weather performance on the Hot Shot Secrets is hands down the best oil that you can probably get on the market within reason, that you could just go somewhere and buy it easy. I was watching a Project Farm testing with the Hot Shot Secret oil, and it is just the best at cold flow. Now, the AMSOIL, on the other hand, is the absolute best for wear. It actually has, according to like Project Farms, it actually has better wear scar testing than even the Hot Shot Secrets. But the Hot Shot Secret is no joke. When it comes to cold flow, it's leaps and bounds ahead of all the other competitors. So it's tough because, as we can see, we ran our oil longer than we're supposed to, and we saw that the base number is 3.2, which is still good. It's moderately low. It says fuel dilution is at a moderate level. The base is slightly low after we ran it so hard. Now, on the other test that we did with our 7.3 with the Motorcraft oil from, now this is a gas engine, still it's a little different. Our base was gone. Our base was gone at one oil life cycle, 5,000 miles. Motorcraft oil gas engine. On this, we ran it hard and long. Like, I got a lot of time. It's kind of nice to be able to get a lot of time out of your oil change because you're changing your oil less. So, I mean, you don't have to be, taking out the oil, disposing of it. There is some savings there just from the fact that you don't have to take the time out to do it. So, it's very interesting that this oil did not give us any red flags or anything like that, and it was ran beyond that interval. Now, one thing we have a little bit of a yellow warning on our fuel dilution, and being that we started at a 5W40, it gave us that little bit of extra wiggle room to where at the time of changing, we're at the top of a 30 weight but the bottom of a 40 weight, so we're well within spec. When you purchase oil from like AMSOIL, I'll pick on that one because I know just offhand the spec. If you were to get the 0W40 oil at operating temperature, believe it or not, the 0W40 is the thickest one at operating temperature. I don't know how that works or how that is figured out, but it's only by a little bit. But at operating temperature, 0W40 is just marginally thicker than their 15W40, at least when it's new oil. Once it shears down or gets used a little bit, that probably changes. We're going to see what the viscosity is once we actually do an oil analysis on it again. But it starts off the thickest. And you can look at their spec sheets and all that to confirm that. Then it also pours the coldest out of all the 40 weights. But their 10W30 oil, it's the thickest you could be and still be a 10W30. So it's almost, with the AMSOIL that is, the 10W30 is almost a 40 weight because it's so close. It's at a 12, and I believe that's called the centistopes. This one's at 12.9 right now after being used, and it started off as a 40 weight. But the 10W30 that you would get to be the normal operation type of oil to put into a 6.7 power stroke, and the 540 would be the severe oil to put into a 6.7 power stroke. Somehow, well, the way AMSOIL specs their oil, 10W30 starts off thick, about as thick as you can be, and still be considered a 30 weight. It's at the top of the spec. And as it gets used, I would imagine it works its way down because I think 12, anywhere from like 8 centistoke to 12 centistoke, don't quote me on that because I got to look that up. I don't know what the minimum spec is offhand for a 30 weight. But I know that their gas engine oil, the Signature Series 10W30, for a gas engine does not run at 12 centistoke for viscosity at operating temperature. It runs closer to 10. So their diesel oil runs a different viscosity in a 30 weight than their gas oil in a 30 weight. So, I would imagine that their 10W30 could be a little more efficient. And the one thing about that Hot Shots is like its viscosity. It flows so good. I'd be curious which oil is going to be more efficient. So I'm not 100% set yet on what oil I'm going to continue to use long term, but I'm kind of leaning a little towards this AMSOIL over the Hot Shots. Not that the Hot Shot oil is bad by any means. It's still like top notch depending on what you're doing. I think if you're in like some real serious sub-zero type of temperatures, then maybe the Hot Shots oil could be the way to go. Like Canada, I'm in like Michigan, so we got all kinds of weather. It don't get that cold here to really be an issue. Like I have to for sure use Hot Shot oil just because of this cold weather performance is that much better, significantly better on the cold weather performance. But if you're talking like for real negative, I don't know, 20 degrees or something, we don't see that. We'd be lucky to see 0 Fahrenheit here. But if you're way up in Canada or something, or Alaska, and it's cold for real, maybe that Hot Shots is the move. But just because it's cold performance is second to none. But as far as the fuel dilution, one of the things I want to say is I don't know how much of a detriment that fuel dilution is going to be. Does it mean that there's going to be damage? Does it mean that maybe a little bit of that piston ring wear that we saw with the chrome, even though it's at a minor level, maybe that would be something that wouldn't even be an issue anymore if we didn't have the fuel in the oil? Does it affect, the performance? How is it affecting the performance of the oil? Well, I remember seeing Dave's Automotive talking to us about the fuel dilution that you get from idling. And he's like, you can't idle your car because you got 44% fuel in your oil. And it makes me wonder, it's like, yes, I see that you're saying that we have this 44% fuel in the oil, but I find it interesting that they use the percentage, they use a percentage to describe to us the amount of fuel in the oil, where what if at 44% more fuel in the oil, both of the numbers were negligible? If it's 44% of what, like, you can see on mine after idling it and running it for 24-hour shifts straight, multiple 24-hour shifts straight, that we have 5% fuel total in our oil. Now 44% more fuel in the oil, to me that means like you're telling me that it's marginal either way, because they're not telling us exactly the amount of fuel. It could be like 0.0 fuel and like 0 fuel or something like that. Like one's like 0.05 and one's 0.09 or something like that. So both the numbers would be negligible, and would you still warm up your engine in that situation? But anyway, I'm gonna wrap this up. I gotta get going. My name is Sean. This is DS Trucks. See you in the next one. Over and out.